Hi everybody, welcome and welcome back. My name is Elisa. Today we're gonna continue with the Amelia dress because last time I launched a completely new sewing pattern which is called the Amelia dress, and a lot of you really loved her, which is so exciting. I love that because I think the dress is amazing as well. This dress is a pattern pack. It comes with 2 front bodice variations, 2 back bodice variations. It comes with 2 sleeve variations. It comes with 2 skirt variations. It comes with additional ruffles, an additional optional micro collar. So all of those components together, if you mix and match them up, you're gonna get 22 plus different dress variations with this one pattern pack, which is just like so exciting. The dress is an hourglass shaped dress and heavily inspired by the brand of The Vampire's Wife, but also Rixo, Saloni, The Affirmation and others. And it's just a beautiful silhouette that everybody should have in their wardrobe because it's such a staple. She's beauty, she's grace, and she's super elegant. Last time I made a very slinky version of the dress with an open back keyhole. I used a silk-like polyester material that gave the dress a very elegant appearance. Today I'm gonna go the complete opposite way. I'm gonna use quite rigid heavyweight corduroy. I'm doing this because I want to show you how versatile this pattern is. We're going to end up with something completely different than last time. The corduroy is going to give the dress a super nonchalant, laid-back day dress appearance. So it's a super versatile dress that you could practically wear every day, even if you just go to the shop. Because I'm using heavyweight corduroy, I'm going to go with a closed simple back this time. I'm also going to hack my sleeves because I want the elbow length sleeves. However, I cannot shear this material, so I'm going to show you how to hack the sleeve to make it fit for rigid materials. And I'm also going to use the bustard with the straight legs this time because that one is more suitable for rigid heavyweight fabrics compared to the bustard with the curved legs. Okay, that's everything I wanted to say. Let's get into it. Alright, so when we work with corduroy, we want to make sure that we're working in the correct grain direction. So corduroy is kind of like the fibers facing one way, and I'm thinking for me that will be this way. So this is how I want to fold my fabric when I cut all of my pieces to make sure all of the fibers are facing down rather than up. The cool thing about the Amelia dresses, it comes with lots of options. So you do have 2 completely separate bodice options if you wanted to, and they're interchangeable. So we have 2 fronts and 2 backs, which you could pair up with each other any way you like. So for any type of rigid or heavyweight fabric, such as this one, I'm gonna go for the simple dart with the straight arms. There's also a bodice with curved arms. I'm gonna go for the straight arms because with heavyweight fabric, that's just a better choice. And I'm opting for the simple back today. There's also a keyhole open back option that would be also a nice idea for this dress, but I want to go with the closed one today. Right, so I want to hack my pattern a little bit because we have 2 sleeve options for the Amelia dress. One is this elbow length sleeve that is meant to be sheared around the elbow for it to be tapered in, and then you have this ruffle emerge, and the other one is a puff sleeve. What I want to do, because I'm working with this fabric that is not really a good choice for shearing, I'm going to taper in the side seam a little bit and cut the ruffle as a separate piece. So there's no elastic involved here. It's just a rigid tapered sleeve, and I'm going to ruffle up the cuff separately and then attach it on my sewing machine. What you want to do is measure the circumference of your elbow up here, and you want to halve that and add a little bit of ease, and then measure it from the fold of your fabric over like this. So I'm going to do 1.5 centimeters ease, and then I'm just gonna mark out the curvature here, and then I'm gonna grab my ruler or a ruler, and I'm gonna just connect these 2 points with each other to get my shape that I need. Now I'm gonna cut this and then cut it again so I have 2 sleeves. And now the last thing I need to do is cut my facing because today we're gonna make a dress without a lining. For the first time in a long time, we'll have no lining, which makes me think we will be done with this dress in no time. But I'm really bad at estimating stuff, so maybe I should shut up. I'm gonna fetch my front, place it along a fold because we have a fold, and then I fetch my back. And the back needs to go like this. And we need to overlap these because we don't need the seam allowance. And ideally I would want to continue the facing in the back to hide away my zipper, which means I'll try to utilize all the fabric I have. And I'm gonna outline exactly what I have here and all the way down to the back like this. So this is what I need. I can remove this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do, let's say, 6 centimeters all around, which hopefully that works. This is how I do my facing. So I hope this makes sense to you. This is the neckline. This is gonna go around. I went as long as I could because I want to hide my zipper in between the facing and the rest of the dress because we don't have lining. So that's how I did that. Let's start this dress. I'm very excited about the choices that I've made. I think it's gonna look very cute. I think it's gonna be coming together really quick. We know me, we know that I'm bad at estimating things, but still, because we're not lining this, I do hope it comes together really fast. So, okay, we'll start with the darts. We have a straight dart this time, so that should come together really quickly. What I like doing is I've already placed my notches on the side, so I don't have to worry about that. So I just place a needle here at the tip of my bust, which, by the way, in case you're confused, the bust dart isn't meant to end at your bust apex. It is offset to the side. That's just a design choice for this type of dress. So I'm just gonna pop a little chalk dot here at the end of my dart, and then I'm gonna just sew that down real quick. And because, again, we have a straight dart, no curve here, so it is always important to go and press your seam straight away. With corduroy, I would be careful not to press it from the right side because that could irritate the texture. I'm gonna make sure to only press it from the left side. That is our front sewn together, and it has a really nice shape already. And if your seam allowance, like mine, just pops out down here, just cut it back like this. Boom. Boom. We don't need this. This isn't serving us. Front is done. Now I'm gonna sew in the darts in the back. Same procedure. Here we go. The back is sewn and pressed, same as the front. Now we pop the two right sides touching, and we're gonna sew the shoulders as well as the side seams to create a little vest. And with the side seam, we just make sure that we pin the dart, which is quite a big dart, obviously the bust dart. We want to pin that into the side seam, so eventually it's going to be sewn in and nicely hidden away. Now I sew my shoulders and my side seams. So here we have the bodice right out of the box, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but the fit is really good. Up next, I'm going to do the skirt. The skirt also has darts both in the front and in the back, which I will have to sew in first before I then pop front and back onto each other, right sides touching, to sew the side seams, just as I have done with the bodice. Right, so I have sewn together the back skirt, so we have the darts in as well as the center back sewn together, pressed and pressed open like this, which means the back side is completed. The front side is also completed. It also has the two darts sewn in. Now I'm going to place front and back right sides touching, and I'm going to start to pin together and then sew the side seams. Before you put together your top and your bottom, you do want to try on your bottom to make sure it's a good fit, because we now need to serge all of our side seams before we can join top and bottom, and that is because we don't have lining. And there is a hierarchy as how to serge and put together things, so let me explain. Right, so before we can join the top and bottom together, we want to sew all of our basically like vertical seams. So the side seams, shoulder seams are horizontal, but anyway, so all of the seams that join the front and the back together, we want to serge. So the shoulder seams, the side seams in the bodice, followed by the side seams in the skirt. Because when we then eventually sew the top and the skirt together, those things are in juxtaposition to each other. So you want to have them serged before you then eventually sew together your waist seam and serge that at the end. So always think shoulders, sides, waist. That's how you want to serge things. If you do not have a serger, you will want to either use a zigzag stitch on your machine. You might want to use one of those zigzag scissors to kind of like have things not fray on you, or ideally you would want to use bias binding, which I think is probably the cleanest and prettiest solution. But since I do have an overlocker slash serger, that's what I'm gonna do. So shoulders, side seams, and waist. So now that all of those seams are serged, you want to join top and bottom together, which is always exciting. And I always start by giving myself a center front notch point for both the skirt and the bodice. Ideally, you would have done that while cutting. I have not. So I'm just folding this front bodice in half, and I'm giving myself a little notch here at the midpoint. When I have that, I'm gonna place the bodice in front of me, right sides facing up. Then I fetch my skirt and place it right sides facing down. And I have a notch point here also in the waist, and that's the first 2 points that I'm gonna align with each other. From there, I move on to my side seams. I want those to align as well. When those are aligned, I can then suss out the midpoints between there and pin the waist flat. I move on to the back and I align the back with each other. So now that the waist is pinned together, I'm gonna stitch it and then we can try our dress for the first time. Bodice and skirt is sewn together. I'm very pleased with the fit. And now I'm gonna prepare the sleeves. These are my sleeve pieces, which again, I have hacked because I hack my own patterns. That's what I do. So this is a more fitted sleeve because the other one basically goes straight down and you would have to shear the cuff, which with this fabric isn't really possible. So I have a more conical fit here now, which is gonna just fit perfectly around my arm. So this is the shape of the sleeve at the moment, and this is the cuff that we want to ruffle up. So what I am going to do, so I need to pay attention again to the grain line. I'm going to give myself a notch at the midpoint of the cuff like this. Now I'm gonna add 2 rows of basting stitches up here, meaning using the biggest stitch length on my machine, which is 5, and I'm gonna give myself 2 rows that I don't lock at the beginning or the end. Now that those 2 rows are done, I am going to again grab my sleeve. I'm going to fold the cuff up so that the right sides are facing. Then I pin the midpoint and the side points. Okay, so now this is how much ease I need to gather down, and I'm simply doing that by grabbing the 2 top or bottom threads of my basting stitches, and then I pull them to gather up my corduroy, which is actually not that easy to gather, but it works anyway, which makes me a little afraid for the ruffles on my skirt. Once it is gathered, I want to make sure that it's distributed nicely, and then I'm just going to place 2 more pins here in between, and I do the same thing on this side. Now I'll sew this. Now I serge, zigzag stitch, or bias bind this seam. Then I fold this down and I go and place the 2 sides of the inseam of the sleeve on top of each other. Now I sew and serge the seam. Great, so both sleeves now look like this. And I'm gonna give the cuff a rolling hem right now. So what I'm gonna do is I will fold it over once, stitch as close to that edge as possible, cut it all back, and then fold it over once again and top stitch it. The bodice and skirt are all done, so the main part of the dress is sewn together. The sleeves are prepared, and I'm tired. I don't want to force myself to finish it today, but it was a really quick process for sure. So tomorrow morning, I'm gonna put in the sleeves, which I think is gonna take me maybe like 15-20 minutes. Then I'll attach the ruffles, which might take a little bit longer, probably 45 minutes-ish. And then I'll do the zip. Don't hold me to it, but those are my estimates anyway. It is now not quite 6 o'clock in the evening, so I've been working on this for, I want to say 2 hours really, because I took some TikTok breaks, which I'm not too proud of. So there was definitely some downtime while being at my workstation. But we made some good progress. Really happy with this, and I'll finish it tomorrow morning. The next day has come. And we're gonna finish this dress now, which I'm excited about because this was so easy. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pin the sleeves in, and the sleeves don't really have sides. I kind of lost one along the way. there's two naturally. So the sleeves don't have sides, so you just want to check where your seam allowance is facing. And that's kind of where you want to place them. So I want my seam allowance to always face towards the back, which this one faces to the back. And now what I do, you go ahead and place your sleeve inseam onto your bodice side seam, but you're gonna offset it about 1 centimeter towards the front. And that is because we're moving our hands towards the front rather than the back. So it has a slight forward tilt. And then I'm gonna start just one side, either front or back, to pin it in and follow the armhole curve. And then there comes a notch, which is in your pattern. And that notch indicates to you from which point onwards you are going to gather up the apex of the shoulder of your sleeve. So once this one side is pinned in, I reach into the dress and I turn it inside out, and then I continue pinning the sleeve in flat towards the front because I've just done the back. And again, you will reach your sleeve notch, which indicates where the gathering starts. So up until that notch, you sew and pin flat. Once you've reached the notch, you're going to find your shoulder apex notch, which is just a midpoint of your shoulder and your sleeve. And you're gonna pin that to your shoulder seam, just dead on, like this. And now you can see how much ease you have in the back and how much ease you have in the front. And that ease you want to gather up. You could either do that with a basting stitch and just gather it down, or like me, you could just pin the ease in pleats, up to you. Okay, and now I'm gonna have a look from the outside to see if I like what I'm seeing. And I think I do. I'm gonna now pin the second side and then I'm gonna sew this in. All right, let's do something fun, shall we? I have a longer and a shorter ruffle here, and my thinking is I wanna do a tiered ruffle. Because of the bulk of the fabric, I'm not entirely sure yet if that's gonna work out, but I'll try anyway. What we have here is two of the mini skirt height ruffles. So these are actually meant to go on the mini skirt version, and then we have the midi skirt version, which is just taller, right? So we have two panels of each. I'm now going to sew the side seams of each panel together. I also have notch points in my fold section, so I know where the center front, center back is for each of the scarves eventually. So I'm just gonna place them right sides touching right now. Then I'm gonna sew and serge the side seams. I'm gonna do that for both the midi and mini skirt ruffles. All right, so this is what my two ruffle tiers look like right now. As you can see, I've already hemmed them. I've given them the same rolling hem that I've done around the cuff of the sleeve. Now is the time to actually gather them up to the actual circumference of the hem on the A-line skirt. Now I'm a little bit scared about this because of the bulk of the fabric, because corduroy is, you know, it's substantial, so I'm curious as to how the gathering will, you know, conduct itself with all of the volume that's happening. I'll give it a shot. I'll do it the same way as I've done it with the cuffs around the sleeves. So I'll add a basting stitch here to the raw edge, which is the upper edge of my ruffle tiers, and then I'll pin the ruffle tiers to the center front, to the center back, and to the side seams of the skirt, and then I'll start to ruffle up the sections in between. I probably have to do it twice. I don't think I can do both tiers at once. I'll probably have to do both of them individually. So let's see how that goes. All right, I'm gonna start out with the bigger, taller tier first. So there's the first tier. I should have done the shorter tier first, obviously, because now it's done. Now I can't really attach the shorter tier anymore. So that was a bit of a mistake, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm also, I can't be bothered to take off the bigger tier now. So it's just gonna be one tier. Don't tell anybody that I had different plans. Nobody's gonna know. Who's gonna know? Now we just have the facing and the zipper to do, which should be a quick fix. So what I want to do is I want to place the zipper face down onto my skirt on one side first. I'm going to start pin it in here, and I'm also going to baste it right away. I'm now going to open up the zip just so I have easy access. I want to make sure that the end of my zipper here is folded over and away from the teeth like this, and I'm going to place another pin. And now I'm going to baste it down. I don't have to do any precision work here, it's just so that the zipper is fixated in place. Once one side is basted in, I can now pin the other side. And what I want to do is I'll grab some tailor's chalk, and I'm going to go right to my waist seam here, and I'm going to mark on the other side of my zipper exactly where the waist seam hits. And this is going to help me align the waist seam on both sides of the zipper, because that is something that you want to be consistent for a professional finish in the end. So that's the first point I will pin, and then I move on to the rest down here and place a few more pins. Keep this in place, and of course I want to keep the same seam allowance on both sides so things are symmetrical. And again, up here you want to make sure to pin the end of your zipper tape over and away from the teeth of the zipper, so eventually this can be nicely hidden away when we add the facing. You want to make sure that things up here are even. Now I'll take this to my machine and baste it down on the second side. Now that the zipper is basted in, it looks like this now. And we do want to make it truly invisible, and for that we need to give it a second row of stitches, either with a zipper foot that is specifically for invisible zippers, which is going to uncurl your zipper teeth and sew in the ditch right here. But you can also do this manually by just folding the zipper teeth over, and then with your normal needle sewing right here as close to the zipper teeth as possible. So after having given the zipper a second stitch, this is what it looks like right now. For now, I'm really happy with the zipper, so I'm gonna go ahead and now pin in my facing. And what I have done here also is I've been a bit cheeky, I've lowered my center back neckline just a little bit, because I really just want this zipper to fit. So now my center back neckline is slightly lower than it was before, so this gap isn't super big. So once I actually attach the facing, there will only be a 1 centimeter gap right here between the actual neckline and the beginning of the zipper. So a hook and I will nicely close that off, and I think I will be happier with the finished result. So now I'm gonna fetch my facing, which looks like this. We have our neckline and we have our center back going down like this, and this nicely covers the distance of my zipper, which ends about here. So I'm gonna open my zipper back up. I need to find my center front notch, so I'm just placing the 2 shoulder seams together. I pull my center front neckline and I give myself a tiny little notch here just for orientation's sake. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the facing, and I also have to lower the center back facing a little bit because I've just done that with my actual dress. We want to place the facing right sides touching with the dress, starting at the center front. This is where I've just given myself these notch points. This is where I start pinning, and then I just follow the neckline. It's as easy as that. Once I have pinned the neck hole, I want to continue with the center back. So I'm gonna hide all of this ugliness away in between the lining and the shell. So the zipper is gonna be nicely hidden and nothing's gonna scratch our backs. There's no plastic touching the skin, which is gonna be rather lovely. And I'm just gonna pin all the way down to the end of the zipper. All right, facing is pinned. Now I'm gonna sew it down, and then we can give everything a press before we finish this off. Here we are, the zip is in, the facing is on, and now we just need to clean up a few things and finish the deal. I'm just gonna snip my neck hole in a bunch of places for it to be more at ease when we turn everything around, so we can get a nice neck hole curve. Right, and now we need to give all of this a good press.